Welcome back, you bunch of bosses, to another Codex review. The top 5 changes of the Tau Empire.
Ba-da-da-da.
Yay! Thank you, Games Workshop, for sending this to us for perusal, reviewsal, and previewsal for you lot at home. If you have not done so already, we do have a game showing off a load of the cool new tidbits in this book, available right here, right now on free view. In addition to that, we also have our top 5 units over on demand. Check that out as well as our tactical guide, which will give you the juicy details of everything to come in this book. And if you are an on-demand subscriber, you can join us on some point next week, whenever it will be released, of the top 5 combos of this interesting now faction, which is a good thing to be able to say.
Yes.
So that pleases me greatly. If you like what we do, make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, leave a comment below, get into the discussion about the Tau. And if you really like us, check us out on demand, where we've got all of those juicy videos that I've already mentioned, as well as a bunch of extra stuff.
Everything.
And so without further ado, the greater good has arrived, and it's a good time, okay?
A greater good time?
It's a greater good time, nice.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the top 5 changes. So basically we're going to break down some army rules, a little bit on the Sept as well, talk about some stratagems, some warlord traits, some unit updates, and some points updates. So there will be a lot of us. There will be a split down below in the description, giving you some timestamps of specific stuff. So it might look like there's more than 5, but they all fall under one of those umbrellas. So let's get this thing kicked off. We've got our umbrellas. I have the greater good. Let's get to it. Let's start off with some detachment rules. These are your fairly basic things that you get in pretty much most armies nowadays. Your commander is limited to 1 per detachment, unless you're Farsight, where it's 2.
Crazy.
It's as it was and as it shall be. These are sort of fluffy things. It's not really an issue that I have with it. It would have been nice that there's no like lieutenant level commander, no Chazelle that you used to be able to get. So fine, if you really want to run commanders, you're going to go Farsight Enclaves. To that end, you can't have Ethereals in Farsight Enclaves because they're an independent power. Again, this is fluffy. This is nothing new to Tau fans. All your troops gain OBSEC. And then that's basically it. There's no like really funky rules here, like, you know, like with the Custodies, where like every model counts as 2 for OBSEC purposes, or this, that, and the other. It's pretty standard with the Tau, which is fine because they actually have a lot of cool rules in their main army bits, which we'll touch on in a minute. Now, obviously, what you do get in your detachments are your Septs.
Yes.
So again, nothing new here, really. You have your named Septs, and then you get some custom Septs. Everyone gets a Warlord trait, a Stratagem, a Relic, and of course, some cool abilities. We can go straight into it.
Oh, let's.
Like, there's nothing really to discuss here. This is all fairly standard.
It's familiar territory. Everyone's feeling very comfortable.
The Tau Sept, like I say, everything gets a Tenet, a Warlord trait, Stratagem, Relic, all that sort of stuff. We won't go into everything on these. We just kind of take a little tidbit from each. All of the details will be included in the article, as well as plenty of games to come. But the big thing here with the Tau is you can reroll a hit or wound roll every time they shoot or fight.
That's nice, baby.
That's great with a Hammerhead, who already get a built-in reroll. So you'll be rerolling that hit and wound, and because you're Tau Sept, you get access to long strike. So I imagine that 4 Hammerheads will be in the competitive scene, at least initially. We'll touch on the Hammerheads later. They're very good, but I do not think that they're the be-all and end-all of everything. So that's kind of the main thing with the Tau, is you get access to the special characters, as well as reroll a hit or wound roll is great in an army that relies on hitting and wounding, right? I mean, all armies do, but Tau especially, because they don't really have, well, they didn't used to have much ability in other phases. Now they do. No, you don't get combat crisis suits. No, you don't get like the Nikasar. Is it Nikasar or Nisar? Basically psychic polar bears. Yeah. Yeah, one of their auxiliary races is the I don't know how it's pronounced, but they're basically psychic polar bears.
That sounds good to me.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a shame they don't exist.
They're more active in other phases.
They are far more active.
Compared to other factions,
Yes.
they're not.
Yeah, I mean, one of the exemplars of that is their signature system for the Tau Sept, vectored maneuvering thrusters, plus 2-inch movement, which is nice. And our favorite rule of the moment, which is when they get charged, they just go, nah, see ya, I'll move away.
ya.
And this is the thing, because other abilities like that, like, oh, they make a move of 6. This is, they make a normal move.
Yeah.
Well, Crisis Suits have like a 10-inch move base, so he just goes 12 inches, nah.
Yeah.
You literally cannot charge him unless you're multi-charging him.
Pretty wild.
This is pretty fun. We then have Viola. They're all about the speed. Their Tenets quite cool. Reroll advance and charge rolls is quite nifty, as well as +2 movement if you start in your deployment zone. So that's pretty cool. Their Stratagems particularly potent. As long as you're targeted, you pick any Viola unit. As long as you're targeting the closest eligible, every 6 does a mortal wound in addition to a max of 6, which is pretty good. So again, this is all fairly standard. It's like you've taken the basic stuff and just zhuzhed it up. This is what we are expecting to see from 9th edition codexes, and this is what we've seen so far. Sasea have changed significantly though, because previously they gave you a reroll a hit. That's now the Tau shtick. But what Sasea do is you get dense cover if you're 12 inches away, or 18 if you're a vehicle, which is a great ability boost for your defenses. And your vehicles and battlesuits can shoot into combat with no penalty.
Pretty wild.
Which is nice, because
wild.
you're going to be wanting to do that.
Yeah.
So they're nice. Daliev are an interesting one. You always get light cover, as long as you're not in engagement range and as long as you're infantry.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice survivability boost if you're going like battlesuits or fire warriors. Not so useful if you go in vehicles. Their second part is really weird. You can apply your tactical philosophy, which we'll get to in a minute, to auxiliary units. So Kroot and Vespid. Okay.
Is that like a fluff nod, do you think?
I mean, it is, because the Daliev are the ones that have the closest ties with the auxiliaries,
Right.
but it's still just like, okay.
You don't see many people with a lot of Kroot,
No.
sadly.
Fine. It's okay. Borkan is my favorite. Borkan. Plus 4-inch range to their weapons is great.
Good for Tau.
It's good for Tau, especially because a lot of their weapons are surprisingly short range, so giving them that little bit of extra edge away is nice. And then the second part is a real nice survivability boost. Vehicles and battlesuits, anything that hits them with strength 7 or below is -1 strength. So if you're shooting an autocannon at, say, a Hammerhead, strength 6 now, so it's wounding on 5s. That's nice. You're shooting that heavy bolter at my crisis team. Oh, I'm afraid that's strength 4 now, so it's 5s to wound.
Pretty tasty.
That's quite nice. Yeah, so that's a nice little survivability boost. They have a stratagem to turn off invuns for 1 weapon in their army. So you do that on a Riptide or a Storm Surge.
Storm Surge, they've got a nice big gun, haven't they?
They do have they've got 2 very big guns. It does apply to 1 model, 1 weapon. It is 2 CP, but it can be pretty significant. And then we have the Farsight Enclaves. Their ability is pretty much what we're used to, which is you get a Markerlight when you're within 12 inches now.
Cool.
But Markerlights are much simpler. And yeah, basically read that as you get +1 to hit if you're shooting at anything within 12 inches.
Yes.
It's quite nice. That's quite nice. And they can reroll a wound roll every time they shoot or fight.
Which is also very nice.
As well as drop zone clear, which is one of the best stratagems. It's free CP if you're using it on a unit of 4 or more battlesuits, or 2 CP otherwise. But basically, when they deep strike, you just reroll all hits and wounds.
This drop zone's clear because everything's dead.
Everything is dead. They are dead now. Yeah. You then have some custom Septs.
That's quite nice in their new flamer option. No.
Yes, it is. There's a lot of custom Septs in here. I go through them all in the article, but suffice it to say, basically, the way it works is you pick a sector and you can only have adjoining sector abilities. This is helpful to reduce some of the potency that you could have, although there is one which is particularly horrible because of their closeness to each other. It's C and B, or C and A, where is it? Okay, it's not too bad, but it is still pretty potent. So Evasion maneuvers is each time a unit with this tenet advances until the start of your next movement phase, models in that unit that have the fly keyword get a 5-up invulnerable save.
Okay.
Against ranged attacks. So it's Jink, right? They get to be Ravenwing for a turn.
Good for them.
Yes, but that's when you combine it with the Monkar ability to go, well, I can advance and shoot with no penalty for the first 3 turns of the game.
First 3 turns?
Yes.
That's quite a lot of the game.
Yes. So now your Battlesuits are advancing around and going, yeah, right, I have a 5-up invuln, get shooting.
Yeah.
Your Hammerheads could be quite nasty, that combo. But otherwise, they're sort of kind of what you expect from custom abilities, where they're kind of, this is cute, this is really good, but I'm giving up stratagems, warlord traits and stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's a couple of nasty things in there, but generally they all feel quite good. Like they're like Gene Sealer cults in a way, or the Custodies, where yes, you can take one and you build around it to really maximize it, but it doesn't feel like you're being hamstrung if you take one and then do something that isn't quite mesh with it, apart from Dalyeth. That's the kind of the odd one out. Yeah. Because if you take anything other than infantry and auxiliaries, you're not getting any benefit from their stuff. Yeah. Which is a bit of a shame. But also, can you imagine if they, oh yeah, you just get light cover if you're not in combat, you just get Riptides going around with like a 1-up save. It
would have been nice with Dalyeth if they had the auxiliary thing as like a 3rd ability.
Yeah, because it's one of those ones where you just kind of go, okay. So I can't see that one being used a lot. I reckon Borkan and Tau will be the one used a lot initially, because reroll wound, 4 Hammerheads will be the immediate go-to for people that are looking at them in a what can I spam to be competitive type build.
Yes.
I think I've used Borkan. The extra range is super clutch. Yeah. Because it allows a lot of your really powerful but short range weaponry to suddenly go, yeah. You thought you could escape me. Here I am. Whilst giving you a good defensive benefit to a lot of your big stuff without it being overbearing. Sure. Because -1 strength on strength 7 and below weapons is really nice when you go, oh, I'm going to shoot I'll take my chances and shoot my bolt guns because they're AP2 in Tactical Doctrine at that Riptide, and you just go, yeah, but you're winning that Riptide on 6s now. Yeah. Like, it's a nice benefit, but it's, someone goes, all right, well, here's 8 Eradicators. You go, that's a bit more of a problem. Yeah. So it feels nicely balanced. Farsight will certainly see some use because Markerlights are great now, and having multiple commanders is great. But yeah, that's what I like about it, is there's a lot of options without any feeling too much.
Yeah, I think so too. I also like the custom steps as well, the design choice they made in the book, which is something, again, I mentioned this in previous Xenos codexes, the thoughtfulness that's gone into the layout of the book is the best out of all the different main factions. So, so compared to Imperium, for instance, all these books flow really, really nicely. Yeah, it certainly feels a bit more fluffy. I reckon some of that is due to we've seen more of the Imperium armies first. Yeah. Whereas the Xenos armies are kind of, because this is the thing, like, the books and codexes are always going to be written in a certain way, and then a design philosophy is going to change, or feedback's going to come in, or a different direction is going to be taken, and so it's sort of the later codexes are going to evolve in terms of layout and design and stuff, which is cool. So those are like your main army rule type, your main like detachment type rule things. We'll touch on some of the extra stuff now. So these are your stratagems, warlord traits, and all of that extra goodness that you can use to beef up your guys. Let's talk stratagems. One of the first things that I will say is, as normal, we have like 30 odd stratagems. It's too many. Topic for another time. One thing I will say is that some of the stratagems are basically old rules, but in stratagem form. Sure. So Savior Protocols is now a stratagem. So there's no more bouncing around a million wounds off of a Riptide onto drones out of line of sight. It's 1 drone, 1 damage, done. Disembarking from your tanks with your drones. Stratagem now. Has to be done before you explode. If you're attached to the vehicle when you explode, your drones are dead. It's hard to disembark and detach when their commander is caught in a fiery conflagration. Yes. Can't happen. But to that end, there are a couple of really nice stratagems in here. Please, take me through one of the ones that you have chosen to discuss. The first I've chosen is Dynamic Offensive. So what that allows you to do in your movement phase when your Crisis Battlesuit unit is selected to move, until the end of the turn, you can just advance your full 6, so you're moving 16 inches.
Which is nice.
With your Battlesuit, which is very pleasant. And on top of that, you do not suffer any penalties to hit rolls for firing your assault weapons.
Of which?
And luckily for your Battlesuits, they're all assault weapons.
They all are.
So you can move 16 inches and then shoot your bits.
Yeah, well, and shoot their bits as well, with all of your bits.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of overlap with the Montcar philosophy because that allows you to advance and shoot without penalty, or count as remaining stationary. But it's great for later turns, and the auto advance 6 is just really nice to have. Especially on an already fast unit. My pick of this sort of like on this section is combat debarkation. I'm gonna say it now. Fish of Fury is back, baby!
It's back, baby!
So combat debarkation allows you to use it at the start of your movement phase. You pick a number of devilfish in your army, depending on the battle round, depending on the philosophy that you've picked. So basically, if you're in battle rounds 1 to 3 and you picked Montcar, so the offensive one, you pick 3 devilfish.
Yep.
If you're in battle rounds 3 to 5 and you picked Cowyon, the defensive one, you pick 3 devilfish, otherwise you pick 1. This is all for 1 CP, mind you. As long as those devilfish make a normal move, all the units in your side can disembark after moving. They themselves can then move and advance and shoot normally. They can't charge. But yeah.
Fish of Fury.
Fish of Fury is back.
That's crazy.
So you put that on a unit, or so you put that on a devilfish with breaches inside, and you choose Montcar, which gives your devilfish a 9-inch pre-game move already. And then they move 12, and then you disembark 3, and then you move 6, and then you advance D6, and then you shoot.
Combat Tower, baby.
Look, I really like it, and it gives you some real good reach on the board, especially with some short range. Obviously, it's only for like Fire Warriors and Pathfinders, but it's a real nice utility thing to have.
Yeah.
You know what else is a nice utility?
Fail-safe detonator.
Exploding.
Yes, so it's me, so I'm picking exploding ones. So use it in any phase. When a Battlesuit model from your army is destroyed, before removing that model from play, instead of using any rules that are triggered when the model is destroyed, e.g. the explode ability, you roll a d6 for each unit within 3 inches of that model, adding 1 to the result if the destroyed model has a wounds characteristic of 12 or more. AKA Riptide, for instance. On a 3 to 5, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, it suffers flat 3 mortal wounds. It's nice to have the option to blow someone away if they are quite close to death.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you catch that Riptide in combat, he just goes, all right, I'll take a little pound of flesh.
Yeah.
Your Crisis Commander in combat, even just a lone battlesuit, you know, because it's just any battlesuit. So you go, oh, I've tied up those, well, I mean, that's the thing, you can't tie up battlesuits anymore. But you go, yeah, I just, you know, duffed in that unit of that lone Crisis guy who was holding that objective, and he just goes, for Talvar.
Yeah.
Boop. Like, it does a couple of mortal wounds on the way out.
Yeah.
It's a nice...
For 1 CP,
pretty cool.
It's
nice to have. One of my other favourites is the Recon Sweep. So this is great for, again, the movement abilities that you get. So you do this on a unit of Pathfinders in your shooting phase once they've done their Markerlights. When you do your Markerlights, we'll get to Markerlights in a minute, but effectively you do your Markerlights on a 2+ rather than a 3+.
Nice.
And then you can immediately make a normal move. So you can use that to jump on objectives, you can use it to jump out of line of sight, back onto an objective, into a transport, loads of utility, right? Which ties in nicely with the Strike and Fade stratagem, which is basically, you have to shoot with a unit of Battlesuits first, well, jetpacks, but generally you're going to do this on Crisis Suits. You have to shoot with a unit of jetpacks first at the start of your shooting phase, but then they get to move afterwards. It's only 6 inches, but jump, shoot, jump.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, it's like playing 7th edition Tau again, but without 12 Riptides in your army because it's stupid. It's a really nice thing to have. This is the thing with the Tau. It's not just related to stratagems. They feel a lot more dynamic. They actually can do stuff in the movement phase now. You do not want to be standing still with Tau because you are going to be missing out on a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another really nice one for me. Okay, next up, prototype systems. These are basically your paid upgrades, Chapter Master, Captain Commander abilities, all that sort of stuff. Won't go through them all. I do use one of these. I use the Thermonutronic Projector in the game, so go check that out. But we're going to pick one of our other favorites whilst we're here. So mine is the Alternating Fusion Blaster. So what you do, I mean, you've got to buy the Fusion Blaster, then you've got to pay another 25 points on top of it. So it's expensive to do so. But what you get is 12-inch range Fusion Blaster rather than 18. So you go, oh, I'm sacrificing 6 inches of range. Yeah, that's no good. But your melter's always on. So you're always D6 plus 2 damage. And you do it under a line. So whatever you target, if you hit them, everything on a line between you and them takes a wound roll.
Awesome.
So it's only 12 inches. This is why I like ball count, because it becomes 16 inches. But what you do is if you get that in, and you can get that angle off, you can hit like 2 or 3 things at once with a melter gun. That's pretty nifty.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Well, it's favorite twofold. One, because the ability is really cool.
Yeah.
Secondly, because it might be the best named thing in the game. Maybe is blown Obliteratum out of the water. I'll tell you that for free.
Okay.
This is the EH Disruption Suite.
It doesn't sound very cool.
The EH is abbreviated from Event Horizon. The Event Horizon Disruption Suite.
So they literally basically, and like the fluff of it is, it's like reverse engineered from highly experimental salvaged alien tech. So they found the Event Horizon, realized that they don't need eyes, and have decided to take everyone with them. But maybe the tower a mistake, I don't know.
Good grief. Greater good.
Greater good. More like we're leaving.
Yes. Goodbye. So the EH Disruption Suite.
It's also ridiculously powerful in game.
So you put it on a Ghost Kill Battlesuit, and then once per battle in your command phase, you can use this prototype system, and it has the EH Disruption Aura. While an enemy unit is within 12 inches of this model, each time your opponent selects that unit for a stratagem, and each time your opponent uses a stratagem when that unit is selected to shoot or fight, increase the command point cost of that stratagem by 1.
Where we're going, we don't need CP.
Apparently not.
So yeah, that is an incredibly powerful ability. It's a massive aura, 12 inches.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go, I'll use transhuman physiology and the Emperor's Auspice and a command reroll to save a thing on that unit of Virtus Praetor. Cool, it's just cost you like 7 CP.
It'd be very expensive.
I mean, it is also 30 points.
Yes.
On top of your ghost kill. And obviously if your ghost kill dies, you can't use it. But I mean,
30 points well spent in my opinion.
The sheer threat that can cause.
Messed up.
I mean, it's a good thing it's once per game. Can you imagine if it was just always on?
Yeah.
It'd be wild.
Disruption!
Yeah, so look, I mean, most of them are okay. Some of them are very expensive, but they're generally all pretty good.
Yeah.
Warlord traits, you have a Kroot table, I guess.
I was going to say, that's new, isn't it?
It's just...
Why?
I don't get the Kroot. They just take up space in the book, to be honest. They have some uses, but they're not great. Fine. The Tower Warlord traits, however, are all very good. I don't think there's a bad choice in any of these, which is saying something, because often you get some Warlord traits which are just kind of
bit naff.
Yeah. Some of them are better than others, but even like the bad ones I think are really good. So I would say one of the weaker ones is through Boldness Victory. So you pick a friendly core unit within 9 of the Warlord, and each time a core model in that unit makes a ranged attack, unmodified hit rolls a 6 automatically wound. Now that's a decent ability.
Yeah.
That's not one of the best ones.
Yeah.
When you've got stuff like Exemplar of the Monk Car, pick a friendly core unit within 9 inches of the Warlord, and until the start of your next command phase, each time they make a ranged attack that targets an enemy unit within 9 inches, or 12 if you're in Monk Car, just re-roll the wound roll.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like there's some real nice ones. For Unity Devastation's in there, you don't have to remember to target someone now. It's always on, finally. You know, even things like A Ghost Walks Among Us, auto 6-inch advance and -1 to hit all the time. Like, that's not a particularly amazing ability, but it's actually good. It's a good choice to have.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, like you say, sometimes there's a bit, you know, you get Warlord traits which are a bit naff.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite happy with the Warlord traits, that they're all fairly viable.
And it encourages different types of list build as well.
Yeah, you might try out one where you go, yeah, I'm going to have my commander, like my Cold Star commander is going to have -1 to hit all the time and auto advance 6, which is nice for him.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good one. We've got some relics as well. Yeah, I mean, it's 2 pages of relics. Some of them are okay. Some of the, you've got 2 Kroot relics in here. Again, it's just kind of like, like, it's nice for people that are wanting to run the 3rd edition Kroot army, but...
It's almost as if they
here's a bone,
planned
basically
to redo the Kroot range.
Yeah.
There's an odd amount of emphasis on the Kroot.
Which is weird because their rules are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Like, a lot of their rules basically revolve around trying to make Kroot combat units, which they're not.
Yes.
But there are a couple of quite nice relics. One of my favorites is the Onager Gauntlet. I use that in the game, so go check that out. I do like where is it? The Bagal Hunter's Plates. With the Bagal, I believe, being the name for Orc in Tau language.
Orc Hunter.
Yeah, the Orc Hunter
Nice.
plate. I believe so. +1 armor save and a 5-up shrug. It's nice, it's simple, but it's good. You can make some really beefy commanders with it. I also quite like the solid image projection unit. 4-up invulnerable save, and the first time each turn, not battle round, but turn, that you take damage, you just go, 0 damage. I hit you with a railgun.
Turn.
But did you though?
That's wild. Well, you'd be surprised if you got hit by a railgun.
Yeah. Like, excuse me, we're friends.
That's crazy, because if you think about TJ and his moment shackle, that's like a once per battle option every turn.
Yeah, every turn. It is a relic, but it's good to have, right? And then we have the Invocations of the Ethereals. These are chaplain litanies now. They're no longer an automatic thing. They're all quite potent. You see me use Sense of Stone and Zephyr's Grace in the game, so check that out. Storm of Fire is pretty nice, shooting and action. You can already do that though with an Ethereal. Bit of a weird one that you've now got 2 times the ability to do so. If it was an aura, I'd understand, but fine. Wisdom of the Guides is nice, just on a free plus, because these are all chaplain litany, so they just go off on a free plus. Just get a command point. Yeah, right. I'll take that.
Sure.
Thanks very much. That's good. I like it. So yeah, there's some nice abilities in there for the Ethereals. Chapter approved rules. They're not great. Aerospace targeting relays is actually quite good. I really like that one. I use that in the game. So again, check that out. The other 2 are really weird because they're capped at 12 and are dependent on you doing stuff depending on your tactical philosophy, which is very fluffy.
Hard to achieve.
But also you basically have 3 turns to max it out, and you can't even max it out on 15. Not a fan of those.
Yep.
So that's it for the sort of the extra bits that you get. Let's talk about the army itself and all of those juicy, juicy new rules. Right, army rules and the units themselves. You've heard mention already of the philosophies, the tactical philosophies, the philosophies of war that the Tau have, which is Mont-Ka and Cao-Yon. These are classic, these have been part of their fluff since day one, and now there's finally rules to use them, which is really cool. I would have liked to have seen them expand on them a little bit more, include some of the lesser known tactical philosophies and ways of war, but for simplicity's sake, these 2 work nicely. So the way that they work is at the beginning of the game, so you do this when you know who has the first turn. Yes, Custodes players and Necrons, you may moan in the comments about how you have to do it after deployment, but you're not a Tau.
Not great, good.
So join us.
Get great
good. So you pick after you know who has the first turn, which can influence your decision a little bit, which is always nice to have. And basically you get essentially increasing or decreasing benefits depending on which one you choose as the game goes on. So Mont-Ka is all about the killing blow. That is hitting hard, hitting first, hitting fast. So from battle rounds 1 to 3, you always count as remaining stationary when you move or advance.
Yep.
So you can advance with your Riptide and still shoot.
Nice.
Normally, which is great. You can move with your broadsides and not take the penalty to hit. Great. You can't fall back and do that. That's for Cao-Yon. In addition, if you are targeting the closest eligible enemy unit within either 18 inches in turn 1, 12 inches in turn 2 or 9 inches in turn 3, you get reroll 1s to wound and +1 AP.
Nice. That's pretty tasty.
It's very, very good. The alpha strikes are significant. On the other end of the scale, you have the Kauyon, the Patient Hunter. So this is from battle rounds 3 to 5. When you're in this, basically you can fall back and shoot with a -1 to hit. Hey, -1 to hit or not shooting at all. Take your pick. Obviously less useful for things like Battlesuits, but it gives you the option to do so if you need to target something else.
Indeed.
So that's good. In addition, if you are targeting the closest eligible enemy unit within 12 inches and you're not in engagement range and you didn't fall back this turn, 6s explode. And then on turn 4, 5s and 6s explode. And on turn 5, 4s, 5s and 6s explode. As long as you would normally hit. So that doesn't mean, like, if you've got, like, say, a Fire Warrior who's Ballistic Skill 4 and he shoots at something behind Dents in turn 5, he still needs 5s to hit. But basically it means every hit does 2 hits.
Pretty sweet.
So it really helps you as the game goes on make up for your losses. The downside, of course, is that you can't do it if you fell back or if you're in engagement range. So it kind of is a bit contradictory to the other part of it, which is allowing you to fall back and shoot.
Yeah.
But still, it's a good ability to have, especially if you can set up sort of staggering lanes of firepower,
Yep.
which is nice. Now, I've mentioned Battlesuits quite a bit there because they can shoot into combat now.
That's nice.
It's handy, that. Now, things like your Riptides could already do that because they were monsters. But yeah, now Broadsides and Crisis Suits can.
They sure can. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool. It doesn't help you if you're getting tagged by something and you want to shoot something else. It doesn't help you if you're getting, you know, attacked by Blade Guard or Mortarion.
Yes.
Or anything that's Drakari.
Yes.
Because you just kind of go, well, I will die before I get to shoot.
Yes.
Generally. But it's still useful because it means that you are able to still engage in the game rather than going, cool, here's my 400 point unit, can't do anything this turn.
Yeah.
Which is not a good feeling.
No, it's not. Yeah, although they might die in combat before they get to do their shooting, it's better than how they were in the last book, which was not being able to do anything.
Yeah, and also it acts as quite a nice deterrent because those big beefy combat units you can fling into a crisis team, for example. You better kill them.
Yeah.
You best kill them because even 1 or 2 left alive packs a serious punch.
They certainly do.
So
it's very cool.
It's quite nice. And you still only take the -1 if it's a heavy weapon. So your broadsides will be a little bit more of in trouble, but your crisis team with all of their assault weapons, they won't care. Which again, I really like because it exemplifies what crisis teams are meant to do, which is be really sort of close force engagement, you know, going in to sort of mop up and sweep up and going, oh no, there's lesser creatures trying to attack my superior technology. Well, this was a mistake for them. It's like that thing where it's the old guy by the car and he's just like, quick, call an ambulance. But not for me. Pulls out a gun. Next up, another big change here, the Markerlight system.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's so much better.
They've done a fix there, Chef.
They fixed it right, good proper.
Yep.
So the basic way that it works is it's now an action. It's an action that is performed at the start of your movement phase and it's completed at the start of your shooting phase. So you just can't move if you do them.
Yep.
But you can shoot afterwards. Great. Unless you're a drone or a vehicle, in which case you can move whilst still doing the action and it not fail. Or if you're Pathfinders who can move and who can start the action at the end of the movement phase, so they can move into position. So basically, the main things that carry Markerlights actually don't care so much, which is great. In addition, the way that it works is similar to how it was for you sort of classic Tau players. You picked an eligible unit, so rather than it's not quite a shooting attack, but you still have to target an eligible enemy unit, so you can't put like 8 Markerlights on a character unless you could target the character, but it always goes off on a free. So you just go, yep, what are you? I have freeze to hit. I'm a laser pointer. I'm not trying to hit you. I'm literally just lighting a beam for everyone else. And then you get +1 to hit the next time you shoot at them for each. So for each 3+, you put a marker on, and then the next unit that shoots at them has to use a marker and gets +1 to hit. That's it. There's no reroll 1s to hit. There's no ignore cover. There's no use these to fire seeker missiles. There's no use these to ignore the penalties because most of those rules are rolled into other things now.
Yeah.
Commanders give you reroll 1s to hit. Seeker missiles already just use their normal ballistic skill, finally. You want to advance and shoot with no penalty, you've got Monk. You want to ignore cover, you've got upgrades to do that. So it's just the +1 to hit. It burns a marker, so your target priority has to be good, but it's a much nicer system. It's much simpler, it's much cleaner, and it just feels really good when you get it to work.
Agreed.
So yeah, I'm a very happy chap that my Markerlights actually do something without sacrificing my shooting. So your Pathfinders are now really quite good units because you go up, you Markerlight something, and then you go, cool, you flick off the laser beam, then use it to give you a +1, so you're now like million-shot pulse carbines.
Nice.
This is very cool. What's the next bit? I can't read them.
Next bit, we have Manta Strike, which is basically Deep Strike. You're in the Manta in the sky, and you can set up in the movement phase, at the end of the movement phase, anywhere more than 9 inches away from the enemy. So
Standard.
Nothing crazy there. Ambushing Predators. Start the first battle round, models in this unit can make a normal move up to 7 inches, and again can't end their move more than 9, less than 9 away from the enemy.
Yeah, so that's your Kroot ambush ability.
Kroot.
I mean, look, the weird thing with Kroot, right? We'll get to them, like, I'll do it now whilst they're on the brain because we're talking about the rules. That's kind of their point, is you send them forward and you go, kill me.
Yeah.
Don't kill my suits, kill me.
Yeah.
Because that's about all they do.
Yeah.
They carry a bolt gun and they've got 2 strength, 4 attacks at -1.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Like, I'm finding it very hard to justify including them, which is a shame.
Bit weird. Last one, Inspired to Greatness. You mentioned it earlier on. Your Ethereal allows you to pick a unit and they can do an action and shoot, essentially.
Yeah, which is nice because there's some good actions. Obviously, you don't need to use that with Fire Markerlights because that's completed at the start of the shooting phase and therefore before you shoot anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about that. There's no need to overlap those. But it's great for things like banners or retrieve data or the action that you've got in here for your aerospace relays. So yeah, it's good to have. It's a free rule for your Ethereal, so why not?
Yeah.
Right? We then have drones. There's a huge number of changes to drones, but it basically boils down to they are now part of the unit.
Yes.
That is kind of it. You ignore them for morale, finally. Weirdly, they don't count towards Lookout Sir. So if you've got a unit of tactical drones, they can't protect a commander.
Interesting.
Yeah. I get why they've done it. It's to stop you from going, here's my Ethereal with 2 drones.
Yeah.
And he is untargetable as a character.
Yeah.
And therefore he now gives Lookout Sir to, you know, I kind of get why they've done it. It's a bit weird. You don't count them for like half strength purposes and you ignore them for toughness calculations. They can't do actions or get obsec unless they're part of a unit. And whilst they're on a vehicle, the vehicle has their weapons, but they're otherwise not part of the battlefield.
Yeah.
If the thing's destroyed, they're destroyed. So they've got a lot of restrictions, but also they're just part of a unit now. So you don't need to go, oh, do you save your protocols to tank it on my drones which are hiding out of line of sight? You just go, a drone dies.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, there's upsides and downsides of that because you could just go, oh, here's my bolt guns. Blah, 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 blah. Do you take that on the battlesuit or do you take that on the drones? Here comes the las cannon. Fine. But overall, it's a much simpler and cleaner way of using it.
It's a really nice cleanup, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of jank that's been removed from the army, which I'm happy about.
Yes, me too.
But it's offset by they actually feel better to use now rather than you have to rely on the jank.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's drones and they have lots of rules and well, not lots of rules, but there's lots of drones. Like 3 pages of drones, all with their own little unique different things here and there. But yeah, overall, they're all pretty much the same.
They're going to annoy opponents of Tau players far less than they have done in the past.
Yes.
For example, if you destroy a devilfish with drones on it, they don't just magically jump off and then, I'm holding an objective. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, they're dead now.
Yeah.
So there is a stratagem which allows you to disembark the drones, but you've got to do that in the command phase, obviously before it's destroyed. So you've got to plan ahead now, and you can do that with your crisis units or your characters. Like, you know, if you have, you know, an Ethereal at the back line and then he's in danger, but he's got a drone with him, you could disembark the drone to have him sit on the objective and just go and hold it. he won't have OBSEC or anything like that, but he didn't anyway.
He didn't.
Because he was part of an Ethereal unit. So yeah, it's a good cleanup for the drones. And then we have the rest of the data sheets. Most of them have received a big boost in terms of stats. Extra wounds on crisis suits, extra movement. Everything is ballistic skill 4 now, apart from your commanders. So Hammerheads are BS4 now. Like, they're not BS3 with a reroll, everyone that's panicking. They're still very good, but they're not quite what I think people were fearing about them. But this is offset by your Markerlights just going, yeah, +1 to hit. Great.
Yeah.
Like, if they were BS3 and then you got a +1 to hit, it'd be like, no thank you. So your commanders, Commander Shadow Sun, Commander Farsight are in here still as normal. Every commander gives reroll 1s to hit now. In a 6-inch aura, they're a captain, so that's nice. And depending on the commander, they have a different rule that they can give to crisis battlesuits, or in the case of Shadow Sun, to any core or character unit, which is a chapter master.
Yes.
And give them rerolls, which is nice. Farsight is a beast in combat, as he should be.
Yeah.
Please, regale them with what Farsight does.
Let's have a look here. So we have tactical move we've already discussed. Way of the Short Blade. Shing. And at the start of the fight phase, you can select one friendly Farsight Enclave's core unit within 6. Until the end of the phase, each time that core unit makes an attack, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. I mean, that's pretty nice.
It's handy to have. It's not shabby. It's not shabby. What does the Dawn Blade do?
The Dawn Blade, well, you have 2 profiles. You have the Strike and the Sweep.
Ah, yes.
The Strike is ×2 strength, so strength 10 because he's strength 5, -3, flat 3 damage.
Which is not shabby with your 5 attacks at weapon skill 2.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's pretty good. The Sweep, you do 2 attacks instead of 1, so that's 10.
That's 10 attacks.
That's 10 attacks there, Chef. Strength 6, -2, damage 1. So you've got some nice horde clearance options and also some more tougher unit killing options.
Yes. So that's really nice.
Yes.
You've then got Commander in Crisis, Commander in Enforcer, Commander in Cold Star. All of the weapons have had massive changes to them. As a general rule, most of the weapons are slightly shorter range.
Yes.
At least in terms of the crisis, if they've changed at all, but they've become a lot more streamlined. So the Cyclic Ion Blaster, it's 18 inches, as you know, but it's always assault free now. That's it. It's strength 8 on the overcharge with -2 damage 2, or strength 7 -2 damage 1 on the normal. You might be wondering, -2, and then I'll put my advanced targeting. That advanced targeting system doesn't exist anymore, but most weapons have received an AP boost.
Yeah.
So it sort of, it works out, right? Yeah. But basically each commander does something slightly different to core crisis units, so crisis battlesuits. Crisis battlesuit is tactical acumen, which is, it's very good. Ignore all penalties to hit, and fall back, shoot and charge.
Hey now.
Lovely.
Hey now.
The Enforcer is very good though, because he can give them OBSEC.
Yep.
Which is very nice. The Cold Star, I think, is the weakest of the bunch now. He's only got a 14-inch move now, and he doesn't auto-advance 20 anymore.
Yep.
So he's nowhere near as useful as he used to be for your tank busting, but you don't really need it anymore. But
there's other things to
there's
bust
other
tanks.
things, and he makes a crisis unit auto-advance, and they go 8 inches. I mean, it's an 18-inch move is pretty good, but is it as good as OBSEC battlesuits or battlesuits that ignore minuses to hit?
Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. You got the Cadra Fireblade. Volley Fire's pretty much the same, but it's now exploding 6s rather than just a flat extra shot at half range.
Yep.
And he can give a Fire Warrior unit reroll once to hit one Fire Warrior unit. So, you know, he's good. Kroot Shapers exist. Ethereals. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of covered their main abilities. Alvar, Al-Shi. Darkstrider's a bad man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the ability to go +1 to wound against an enemy unit.
Okay.
That's pretty nice. Because that's core units, which crisis teams.
Yes, they are.
That's quite nasty.
Yes.
Long Strike is a
pain in the bum.
Okay, so we'll cover Long Strike because this covers Hammerheads at the same sort of time.
We have to address the Hammerhead in the room.
Yeah. So Long Strike is BS free. He gets +1 to wound against monsters or vehicles, and he can pick another, not himself, core or hammerhead unit within 6 inches and give them a Markerlight.
Yeah.
So whenever they attack, they count as a Markerlight. So he can, for free, give a hammerhead +1 to hit.
Yeah, but he can't hit on 2s.
No. Well, he can, but he needs someone else to light up the thing.
Sure.
He needs a Markerlight. You guys have seen the Railgun stats. It's pretty scary. Is it game breaking? I don't know.
It depends what you're playing.
It depends what you're playing. Like if you were running like buggy spam, or here's a bunch of raiders, or here's 7 dreadnoughts, or 8 armigers, I feel bad for the knight players because that is a hard matchup for them.
It sucks for knights.
That is going to be a real tough matchup for them. On the flip side, all hammerheads are toughness 7 with 14 wounds and a free up save. That's it.
Yeah.
That's your lot.
Yeah.
So unless you are going to swarm them with drones, so you can use the Savior Protocol, which works on 1 attack.
Yeah.
Or you're going for the custom Tau Sept of 5 up invuns whilst you advance, which means you can't take long strike. They don't actually have a huge amount of defensive abilities.
No.
So they aren't, I mean, it's toughness 7 and 14 wounds. It's relatively beefy as far as vehicles go, but they're not invincible. They still need line of sight. Yes, they've got a 72-inch range on the hammer on the railgun. When has range mattered in 9th edition?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but when people turn around and go, oh, but you know, he could just hide in the corner and shoot a game. Only if you're playing on Planet Bowling Ball. If you're playing on any semblance of a board, he's not drawing line of sight across the entire board.
Yeah.
Like, again, for Knights players, that's not exactly comfort. I realise that, but it's just, I think the fear of it is overblown. What it is slightly too cheap, which we'll get to later. But I personally think the ion cannon is just the better weapon because 3D free shots at strength 8 -2 damage free is quite nice.
Yeah.
But I understand the appeal of the railgun because big weapon go boom.
I mean, if you think about it from the matter of the competitive stance, vehicles aren't really like the big dogs at the moment.
No. No.
Even if I think about like my Death Watch, for instance, which is pretty much all infantry.
Yeah.
I don't care about hammerheads and railguns.
If a hammerhead if a railgun hits a unit of Deathwing Knights, it will kill 2 Deathwing Knights.
Sure.
Which is a pain, but that's what you got an apothecary for.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of, I get it, but some armies will just not care about it.
Yeah.
And also, it's a railgun. I remember back when it first came out, and it was the first weapon that was strength 10.
Yeah.
And people lost their minds over it. It was AP1 back in the days when a bolt gun was AP5.
Yeah.
You know, so for those of you that have joined us in 8th and 9th edition, basically reverse the AP. So the lower the AP, the better it was because it just ignored armor saves of that amount. So yeah, AP1 was crazy. You know, melter guns were AP1, but they were strength 8 and 12-inch range. So this thing comes out strength 10 with a 72-inch range. People are like, oh my God! You know, so it's kind of, to me, I look at it and it's sort of the same reaction now. I go, look, it's a great gun. It should be a great gun. It's described in the fluff as one-shotting Layman Russes.
Yeah. And this is on an army that aren't effective in any other phases, really.
Yeah.
No psychic phase. There is some combat, but not a lot, really. Nothing you can really rely upon.
It's token.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. If they'd have gone, here's a combat, you know, here's a fusion blade option for my crisis suits.
Yeah.
But you're
so sweet.
But your railgun is only flat 6 damage. I'd be like, okay. But I got combat suits.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're allowing me to do stuff in other phases because I can't really do stuff in other phases. I need to be good, and this is the downside of the Tau as a general thing. This is a bit of a concern that I have with the book, which I'll just sort of touch upon now. Which is basically they're only really good in one stage of the game. They're a bit better in movement now. In fact, they're a lot better in movement now because they're actually active and they feel dynamic and fun to use in the movement phase. But their only damage output is shooting, right? So they have to be good at shooting.
Yeah.
The problem is if you make them inaccurate, you know, people go, you know, they should be BS free. And I have said Battlesuits should be BS free for ages and ages and ages. Given the strength of their weapons now, that would not be good for the game.
No.
And this is where I am a little bit concerned about the Hammerhead, is that what it is good at is one thing,
Yeah.
which is killing vehicles.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, vehicles already kind of suck
in a rough spot
in 9th edition, outside of a couple of rare ones. So it's really cool that the Hammerhead is good at what it's meant to do. The problem is that isn't necessarily fun for your opponent.
Yeah.
But that is no different to when someone turns. I mean, it's like I've had when you're playing against armies, which you kind of go, I can't do anything about that. And you go, okay, well, I'm going to roll my dice.
Yeah.
How many times is it where you've had like, oh, well, I've got, here's my army. You just go, okay, cool, it's AP1 against Orcs. And you go, all right, well, you're just rolling to kill at that point. It's the same with the Hammerhead. The reason why it feels worse is because it's ignoring invuns, which are already a problem with the game. So that's fine. And mortal wounds on top, and flat damage, and plus D3. And it's come out after other armies haven't had the D3.
It feels like a relic.
Yeah, it does. It does. Which in a way works for Tau, because the fluff for Tau has always been that their prototype weapons and their sort of experimental stuff is introduced as main war gear later on.
Yeah.
No, I completely get that. It feels like it is more powerful than what a basic tank should have. But at the same time, if it was like, oh, it's flat 6 damage, you go, great, the thing that's designed to kill tanks and can one-shot Layman Russes can't one-shot a Rhino.
How many times do we say it can't kill a Rhino?
It can't kill a Rhino. Now it can.
The tank killer can't kill a Rhino.
It can one-shot a Rhino.
Yeah.
It can one-shot a Layman Russ if you get lucky. It can, it can half a knight. It can one-shot an Armiger. You're still needing to roll to hit, roll to wound, roll the max damage. Like it's still hoops to jump through. I think statistically speaking, you've only got, and this is assuming that you don't have a Markerlight, admittedly, you've only got like a 55% chance of killing a Rhino. For a tank that's twice the cost and is designed to kill tanks. So on the one hand, you've got to account for the fact that it feels bad for your opponent that you're going, here's your cool centerpiece model. Oh, I kill it with, fire 4 railguns at it. Therein, I think, is what people's concern is people are going to spam them. If you take one, it's not nearly as bad. No. And this is the thing, it's designed for balanced armies. The minute you start spamming stuff, you can remove any semblance of balance out of the window. For example, the squig buggy.
Yeah.
On paper, as it is, in units of 2 or 3, it's good, but it's good. It was running 9 of them that was the problem. The railgun is not the problem. It's people that are going to spam them that will be the problem, because that is unfortunately the competitive scene at the moment, which is take the best thing, take the most undercosted thing, run it 3 times.
Yeah.
Which is, unfortunately, it sucks. Anyway, that's enough of that. Long strike exists. Strike teams, breacher teams, they are fire warriors, but their guns are better.
Yes.
Great success. They're otherwise basically the same. Bonding knife isn't a thing anymore, but your leadership is 1 better. Fine. It's nice and simple. You don't have to worry about cheeky 6s. Kroot exist, sure, like, they're cheap, whatever. Oh, sorry, one big change with the strike team and breach team, they have to be in units of 10 now.
Yeah, just that.
That is the way of Tau War, which is really weird because they don't use a 10-based counting system. I think it's in 4s, so it should be like 8 to 12, but the boxes are in 10, so that's why. Crisis Battlesuits, we've already touched on with the commanders. Big glow up, loads of weapon changes.
I like those Tau Flamers.
Tau Flamer, look.
I like them.
D6+2 is nice. You use it in Monk card, get that cheeky AP1 in there, reroll 1s to wound. Look, they're nice, man. The Plasma Rifle's my favourite because a 30-inch range, strength 8, -4 damage free shot is just hilarious.
Oh, that's nice.
The Crisis suits are great. Crisis Bodyguards are a thing. Yes, you're probably going to see people running 5 of them with the airburst, ignore line of sight things, hiding out of line of sight and protecting a character, blah, blah, blah. They can't protect long strike, so don't worry.
That's nice.
Stealth battle suits are cool. The homing beacon. So you're like deep striking with your crisis teams. Would you like to deep strike on turn 1 with them? The stealth suits can do that for you. So their homing beacon, basically in your command phase, you can set up the homing beacon. It's complete, so you can't move. It's completed at the start of your reinforcement step. You can bring in a unit from the Manta, even if it's turn 1. Which is just, it's really cool. And obviously if you don't get turn 1,
yeah, But if you do, that's good. And there's also a really good bit of artwork in the book which shows the stealth suit like open. And the pilot inside.
That's nice.
Very cool.
Ghost kills are cool. I use them in the game. I do use stealth suits and crisis teams in the game as well. Firesight marksmen are pretty nifty. They come with their sniper drones, which are actually good now.
Yes.
Pathfinder teams I think are great. Again, must be units of 10. I use them in the game. Piranhas, they can go into strategic reserve. No, they can go into kind of, pseudo strategic reserve. When you set them up, you can set them up basically 6 inches within 6 inches of any battlefield edge, 9 inches away from enemy units from turn 2 onwards. Their guns got bigger. Most of the guns on the vehicles got bigger because they're bigger than the guns on the crisis suits. Makes sense. Vespid, I can see a use for Vespid in a way because they're quite cheap and 2 shots at strength 5 -3 damage 2 is pretty nifty.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
But I can get good firepower elsewhere.
That's true.
And that's kind of my issue with them.
They follow the counting methodology, 4 to 12.
Yes, it's because the blisters that they're sold in, I think, are blisters of 4, and then 1 strain leader is a separate thing, if I remember rightly.
Yes.
Broadsides. Broadsides are great. The heavy rail rifle.
It's a heavy rail rifle, baby.
All right, heavy 2, strength 9, -4, D3 +3 damage, and you always do a mortal wound on a successful wound roll.
Heavy 2.
Heavy 2. Well, it's 2 strapped together.
Yeah.
Again, changes to some war gear. They're pretty good. Riptide is a heavy support now. The Nova Reactor, you don't automatically wound yourself. You have to roll over your wounds. On 2d6, if you roll over your wounds, you turn off your Nova Reactor.
Right.
Explodes on a D3 mortal wounds, but your Hammerheads and your Devilfish explode with a D6.
Yeah, we don't get that.
Despite the fact that the Riptide basically has a nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
And is... Yeah.
Yeah, the Hammerheads, the Devilfish, and the Skyray all do D6 mortal wounds when they explode.
It's really weird.
So we thought it might have been a typo, but because it's on 3 different data sheets...
it's a bit odd. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Strange one.
But, so, yeah, if you're going to run Hammerheads, don't park them next to each other.
Yeah.
Because they'll hurt each other.
But there's one downside of a rail rifle, I guess. A railgun.
So the Hammerheads, we've touched upon them. Just for reference, they go ballistic skill 4, 5, and 6. So they degrade quickly and harshly.
Yeah.
So, even just degrading one will make a big difference. Skyrays, the Seeker missiles are just permanent now. They're always D3 +1 shots, and Seeker missiles are strength 9, AP3, 2d3 damage, which is nice. The Devilfish is fantastic. It's really good. If you're in Montcar, you get a pre-game move of 9 inches. If you're in Calyon, you can go into strategic reserve at the end of your movement phase if you're within 9 inches of a board edge. So you get loads of options with them. They pack some good firepower as well as being 13 wounds. Beefy. D6 mortal wounds on an explosion. So keep them away from your line. And it's a 6-inch explosion as well.
I don't know why they're so exploding.
It's who knows. The planes are still kind of weird. They're toughness 7 now, or at least on the strike fighter they are. Still toughness 6 on the sun chart. They still only have a 4-up save, which is really odd. But otherwise, they're kind of the same.
Maybe they're lightweight plating for better flying.
Better aerodynamics. The Tidewall stuff exists.
I didn't know they even still sold these.
Yeah, I didn't think they still sold it. It's really weird. They're now basically just open top transports. They're fine. They're okay. The Storm Surge.
That's a big boy.
That's
a chunky boy.
So they've already shown off the blast cannon. The pulse driver cannon is 3d3 shots at strength 10 -4 flat damage free. Blast. Cluster rockets are basically the same. Your destroyer missile is now just a mega seeker missile. So strength 12 -5. Lol. Only 2d3 damage. But rather than like before it used to do like mortal wounds or something. And yeah, that's kind of it. He can get rerolls to hit if he deploys his anchors because he's getting +1 to hit from Markerlights.
And that's an action now, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's at the start of your movement phase, you can deploy anchors, and it completes at the start of your shooting phase.
Yes.
So yeah, similar to how it was, you give up movement to hit better.
Yeah.
But again, he degrades on 4, 5, and 6. So, I mean, he's toughness 8 with 22 wounds, a 2 up and a 4 up. So he's pretty beefy to do.
Yeah. I like that you can declare a charge when you fall back. That's fun.
Just cause with your thunderous footfalls.
Oh, I thought they had fists. Oh, I'm thinking of the Riptides.
Yeah, the Riptides have like combat weapons now. Yeah. It's like strength 7 -2 damage 2.
Which is cool because there's been times in the past where I've been in combat.
Monstrous
with the Riptide,
creature,
and
AP2.
I'm like, oh no, that's gonna hurt, is it? And the opponent's just like, no.
Nah, it's fine. So those are like there's actually quite a lot of changes with the weapons and some war gear. It's all in the article, but those are some sort of top picks, as it were. We can quickly touch on points, and then we can wrap this bad boy up.
Okay.
Let's talk points. They're all in the Nachman book. There you go, done.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real point talking about points because there's been some massive fundamental changes to the army.
Yes.
Suffice it to say, some of you are probably looking at the points changes in the Nachman Munitorum manual version Jan 2022.10, whatever it's called, and going, why are some of the weapons in like, why are there 3 lots? Well, in case you can't work it out, it basically means that the first weapon costs 1 amount, the second weapon costs that amount, the third and the fourth costs the next amount. So this is why I don't think you're going to see cold stars anymore. A cold star, for example, is 100 points base. Your first fusion blaster is 15 points. Your second is 20. Your third is 25. Your fourth is 25. So now all of a sudden you are paying 50, 70, 80, 185 points, which is actually about the same as now, but he's not as fast.
Yeah.
So you're paying the same amount of points for, admittedly, a better commander,
yes,
because he can lead your troops and he can shoot in combat, which is great, as well as buff up units, but he's not as good as like an effective missile, so I don't think you're going to see him very much. Something like, yeah, Breacher's got like slightly cheaper, like 0.5 cheaper, because everything's taken in units of 10, they just go, it's 85 points or 90 points or whatever it is for a unit. Some of the characters got slightly more expensive, 5 points more expensive or 10 points more expensive for like the Khazra Fireblades, but they got more rules, so makes sense. Crisis Battlesuits, depends what you want to do. If you're going for like triple missile pods, or if you were going for the double missile pod and ATS that was popular, or triple cyclic ion blasters, then far more expensive. Yeah. A triple cyclic ion blaster Crisis Battlesuit, which isn't a mouthful in the slightest, is 30 points base, and then plus another 55 for your cyclic ion blaster, so that's 85 points. Now, admittedly, that is 85 points that fires out 9 strength 8 -2 damage 2 shots. But if you run crisis suits like they're kind of meant to be in the fluff, which is a weapon for every occasion so that they can deal with crisis situations, they're like 50 to 55 points, which for the firepower that you get is lovely. Mm-hmm. So yeah, points wise, they feel about right, barring
Railgun?
The Hammerhead, because it's 145 points. If you go for gun drones, 155 if you go for any other weapons. It's a tough one, isn't it? People, I said this to one of my friends when the railgun was announced, and it was basically, it amounted to, this is the reaction of the internet. I want tanks to be good. I want anti-tank weapons to be good. I want anti-tank weapons to be reliable. Why can't Xenos have nice things? Okay, here's the railgun. No, not like that.
Too much.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. It was just like, no, not for Tau. I wanted it for my Eldar. I wanted it for my Necrons. That's basically what it boils down to.
Can't please anyone.
That's what it boils down to. Is 145 too cheap?
Well, I mean, what do you compare it to? I don't really know what to compare it to.
That's the problem.
It's
there
weird,
isn't
isn't it?
really anything to compare. Well, I tell you what, there is something to compare it to. You compare it to the Space Marine Gladiator, the Lancer, the anti-tank thing. So 2 shots, strength 10, -4, or -3, sorry, D3 plus 3 damage. It's getting +1 to hit all the time rather than reroll 1 hit. It's 2 shots, strength 10, I mean, I don't know what the mass is. The main difference is the ignore invuln and the mortal wounds on top.
I think for me, the ignoring invuln thing is the step too far for the railgun. Purely for
it doesn't
knights, for example, because if you're going to play Tau and they're taking a few railguns, it's not going to be a fun game.
No. I think that if they really wanted to go down that route of the invulns, the mortal wounds probably would have been fine. But if they really wanted to, it's almost like one or the other. I understand why they did the mortal wounds, because I mean, there's a brilliant fluff description of railguns. This is an old bit of fluff where basically a tank commander or a guard commander is sort of walking on. He sees his like convoy, and then all of a sudden they hear like a whip crack sound, and like they see just up front like one of the Lehman Russes just sort of wobble, and they go and investigate, and there's like a little hole, and it's like the size of a pen, like you put a pen through it, and he peers through, and inside it's just red. And then the other side of it is just, so it's like, here's a tiny little hole on one side of Lehman Russ, and then the other side is like that, because that's what a railgun does. Yeah. So it's like the poor crew inside, like they're just turned it with the amount, because it's basically a slug hitting at the speed of sound. Like, it was a bad time. So having the mortal wounds is representative of it's gonna do some major damage anyway, and it also helps bump it up into that sort of realm of going, I can one-shot light vehicles, as well as going, if I fire this at something else, I can kill one thing, and then it goes through the guy behind, which is great, right? I think they probably shouldn't have had the invuln removal, or at the very least, just say it reduces invulns by 1 or something.
Sure.
Like, because what if you're using demons? You're not going to have a good time against railguns.
No.
You only have an invuln.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, it's -6, whatever it is. The knights aren't going to get a save. I don't know. I can see it getting a points increase at a later date, or I've seen people going, it's going to get a day 1 FAQ to remove all of its special rules. No, that's not going to happen, because it's clearly designed to be like that. But I understand the trepidation of it. Is it going to be a problem in normal games? No. Is it going to be a problem in competitive games? It's going to be a gatekeeper. That's all it's going to be. You're not going to be winning tournaments with 4 railguns, because it's only 600 and something points. But then, great, you'll reliably kill 3 vehicles a turn. Okay, people just won't be bringing vehicles. Yeah. At that point, at that point you kind of go, okay, it kills like a couple of things. And then obviously, and that sucks for Knights players, because they've just seen this nice resurgence, got all these cool rules, and then Hammerheads go, no, back in your box, boy. So yeah, I don't know if they're going to be oppressive to the meta. I think they're going to be oppressive to certain types of armies, which sucks. Are they too cheap? The jury is out on that, because as you say, there's nothing really close to rate them to. And then there becomes that problem of, but we want tanks to do cool stuff, right?
We do.
So why can't we do cool stuff? Is this too cool? Or is it like not cool because it's Tau? Or is it not cool because it ruins your fun? Which I completely get.
I think there's been nothing really for a while with vehicles, and all of a sudden, the railgun. So I think it's just everyone's a bit like, oh, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want anyone to have that. It's like it's too much. For anyone to witness.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really hard one to reconcile. But regardless, I really like the book. That is a bit of an issue there, and I think there could be potentially an issue with their Alpha Strike potential. They hit really hard.
Yeah.
But unlike Admech, or old Admech, or Drakari, or certain other armies, they cannot take a punch back.
No.
Very little in the way of invuns. Your drone sort of shenanigans are gone.
The general defensive acumen is not prevalent.
The best. There's ways that you can buff it, of course, but it's not inherently there. You have to go out of your way to do it at the sacrifice of certain other things. which is nice because it means that there's a weakness to the army. You have to be careful with your position. This army will really reward maneuverability. Finally, positioning your Markerlights, your target priority, great. It feels like Tau should, which is good. So yes, I'm happy with it.
Superior firepower.
I give it a thumbs up. A technologically enhanced thumbs up.
Yes.
I'm very much looking forward to using the Tau more. I'm excited to see some of the lists that are going to come out of this. I am intrigued to see what they do to the meta. I don't think they're going to shake it up as much as certain other armies have in the past. They're certainly going to have an impact. Most new codexes do. So I will be watching with a keen eye as this now 6th sphere of expansion continues into the wider world. Thank you for joining us. I don't think there's anything else for me to add.
I don't think I have anything else to add. Superior firepower for the win.
For the win.
For the Tau.
If you have something to add, you pop that in the comments below. Keep the conversation going.
Not rail rifles.
Not
We've
rail
enough
rifles. We've heard about the railgun.
Railguns.
Yeah. Unless you've got like a very, very well thought out, considered argument rather than railgun bad. I'm interested to see what they're going to do. Hopefully you guys are. And I'm very excited about this book. I have been Chef. You have been Beard. You've been Bosses. We'll see you next time.
Bye!